The events inside this Vinton County, Ohio residence defy belief. 16 kids pulled out of classrooms, concealed from the public, surviving in a completely putrid 12 by 12 space. And let me promise you, it is absolute malice. This is the exact second the 18-year lie finally caught up with them. Look at this footage. We are taking you right inside the Sally Port in Vinton County, Ohio. The transport van pulls in, the doors swing open, and out steps the family at the center of a case that law enforcement is calling pure evil. 16 children, from 18 months to 18 years old, hidden away from the world, kept out of school, living in absolute, unspeakable filth inside a 12 by 12-foot room in the village of Hamden. No one knew they were there. For almost 2 decades, this family bounced from county to county, dodging truancy officers, dodging neighbors, dodging the truth. Until today, 4 adults were living in that house, and all 4 are now facing 16 felony counts of endangering children. You have the father, Gary Siders Jr., you have the grandparents, Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders, and you have the mother, Elizabeth Siders. But as we watch this newly released video from the day of their arrest, a massive, chilling question starts to emerge. Why is one of these 4 adults being treated so differently by the deputies? Is she a monster, or is she something else entirely? Let's break it down. I'm going to show you the tape.
In the sheriff's vehicle, and the first one coming out is the grandfather. This is Gary Siders Sr.
Hold it right there. Stop the video. The first person coming out of that van is the patriarch of the family, 73-year-old Gary Siders Sr. And the first thing you're going to notice, he's in a wheelchair. Okay? Look at his posture. He's slumped over, wearing a jail-issued shirt. They probably had to put that on him when they pulled him out of the house. He's got the bright orange jail slippers on. His defense attorneys are already pointing to his failing health. They're already filing motions saying, look at him. He's a feeble old man. He couldn't possibly have orchestrated this. But let me ask you something. When this nightmare started 18 years ago, was he in a wheelchair? No.
And you just freeze it there for a second. As you look at him in the wheelchair, remember this alleged conduct was taking place not over the course of days, weeks, or months, but over the course of years. So now we see him, he's in a wheelchair. But when this whole thing started, he was not in a wheelchair. He was a much younger man.
He was a middle-aged man who watched his 18-year-old son bring a 15-year-old bride into that house. He watched 16 children be born into that environment. He watched them get locked in a 12 by 12 room, day after day, year after year. You don't get to wear the victim's cloak when you helped construct the dungeon. Let's roll the tape. Right behind him, here comes the son. Gary Siders Jr., 36 years old, the father of all 16 children.
Next out is his son. This is Gary Siders Jr., okay? And as he comes out, and if we could just freeze it right there for a second, and you can see he is handcuffed, and the handcuff is chained around his waist as well.
Look closely at how he's restrained. He's not just in handcuffs, he's shackled. You can see the heavy chains around his ankles causing him to limp. You can see the belly chain wrapping around his waist, locking his hands tight to his center. The deputies are not taking any chances with this guy.
And there you can see the chains by his feet. So just in the transport of these 4 adults, right? They came across these children, and I can't imagine what they thought when they saw all this. But they've got his legs shackled, his hands handcuffed, and the chain going around his waist.
He was the one doing DoorDash deliveries. He was the one interfacing with the outside world. In fact, if you look at the court filings, the only reason authorities even went to that house on June 30th was to serve a search warrant on Gary Jr. for a completely separate, parallel investigation into indecent exposure. They weren't even looking for kids. They didn't even know there were kids inside. He looks completely calm, doesn't he? Shackled from waist to ankles, and he's just strolling into the jail like it's a doctor's appointment. The absolute arrogance of it. Wait, stop. Look at her hands. Look at the women being brought out next.
Flash forward, and now we see the first of the 2 women. And we can hold it there for 1 second. And this is Grandma. She is handcuffed. She's got some, looks like some papers in her hands.
Here comes the grandmother, 67-year-old Christina Siders. She's cuffed. The metal is shining right there on her wrists. She's walking in, holding some intake paperwork. Look at her face. Look at her body language.
She's walking pretty comfortably. As I watch her, like her body language as she's walking, we can roll the video. There's nothing abnormal, almost like it's expected.
She's almost smiling. It's matter of fact. It's like she knows the drill. There is zero panic on this woman's face. But right behind her, look at Elizabeth Siders, the mother of the 16 children. Where are the cuffs?
At Elizabeth Siders. This is the mother of all these children who were kept out of school. All these children kept in a 12 by 12 room of absolute filth. Children hidden from the public, hidden from neighbors. There are no handcuffs. There's no shackles on her feet.
She's walking freely. No handcuffs, no waist chain, no leg shackles. She is dressed in her regular street clothes. Why? Why would the deputies shackle the husband, cuff the grandmother, and let the mother of the children walk freely into the intake room? Did the arresting officers walk into that house of horrors, look at Elizabeth, and instantly perceive her not as a perpetrator, but as a victim?
Did they look at her initially and say, okay, we're arresting her, but is she a victim? Or is she someone who was allegedly abusing these children? To me, this is very interesting.
Look at her body language as she walks down the hall. I want you to really study this. She is in a complete flinch mode. Her shoulders are hunched, her head is down, her eyes are darting. She looks like a broken person who expects to be struck at any given second.
Her body language is different than everyone else's too. I feel like she's almost in like a flinch mode, right? Like someone is afraid of what's going to happen, or someone who's been, trying to protect themselves, shield themselves just from walking.
Grandma Christina is strolling in like she owns the place, and Elizabeth is walking defensively, almost shielding her own body. Did the deputies see something in that house that made them take the cuffs off? To understand what's happening in this hallway, you have to understand the sick, twisted history of this family. You have to look at how Elizabeth Siders got here. She is 33 years old right now. But she didn't start this family at 33. She married Gary Jr. back in 2008 in West Virginia. He was an adult, he was 18. She was 15 years old. She was a child bride, pulled out of high school after the 11th grade and swallowed whole by this family structure.
And is married to Gary Siders Jr., but she was a child bride. They went to West Virginia for the marriage. She was pregnant with her first child either when she was 15 years old, early in her 15th year, or when she was 14 years old. And that's when she got married, when she was 15.
Over the next 18 years, she gave birth to 16 children. Think about the physical and psychological toll of that. She was pregnant essentially every single year of her adult life. 4 sets of twins, including 1 set of conjoined twins that tragically passed away in 2022.
Right? Well, just having all these kids. And then was having children over the course of the 18 years. Now, there were 4 sets of twins. 1 set of conjoined twins passed away, but 3 more sets of twins who survived. So of these 16 children, 6 of them are twins, which is interesting.
Her attorney, Thomas Stolley, has already gone on the record. He said, "Evil requires malice, and I did not see any malice in Elizabeth." He claims she's exhausted. He claims her worldview was completely hijacked and shaped by being isolated inside that house since she was a teenager. He says the very first question she asked him in the jail wasn't, "How do I get out?" It was, "Are my children okay?" It makes you pause, doesn't it? It makes you feel a pang of sympathy for the 15-year-old girl who got trapped in that house and never got to leave. You look at her defensive posture in this video, and you think, my God, what did they do to her behind closed doors? But then you remember the reality of that 12 by 12 room. The sympathy stops at the threshold of a locked door when 16 children are crying in the dark.
When you go inside this house, that's where the absolute filth was. This was a home described, the odor itself was described as so strong, so difficult. And think about children living in that environment.
I don't care how tired you are. I don't care how manipulated you are. Vinton County Sheriff Ryan Kane said that most livestock is kept in better conditions than those kids. The deputies who found them said they looked like almost feral animals. The floor was so severely rotted by filth and feces that first responders almost fell through it. Several of those children had to be flighted to advanced medical centers because they were in such serious condition. You had an 18-year-old in that room. You had an 18-month-old in that room. Some of these kids have never seen a classroom. They didn't know what it meant to go outside and play. Poverty explains a broken porch. It never, ever explains a locked door and a room full of suffering children. Let's look at the intake video. They've moved the women into a separate holding area for processing.
Let's go to the next video that we have. And this is, they segregate them. The women get handled by one group, the men by another. So here they are.
There's no audio on this tape, but the body language is screaming at us. In a courtroom, body language speaks long before a lawyer ever opens his mouth. Watch Christina, the grandmother, standing there in the cuffs. She is comfortable. She is leaning against the wall, completely unfazed. Now, look over her shoulder. Look at Elizabeth in the background. She is listening to the deputies' instructions. She understands what they are telling her, but she refuses to make eye contact with anyone.
And now it's time for Elizabeth. Still, you look at her, she's obviously listening to instructions. She understands what's happening, but she looks absolutely broken.
Especially her mother-in-law. When Christina shifts her weight, Elizabeth visibly shrinks backward.
Look at her. No real eye contact. She kind of glances over. She looks so different than everyone else inside that house.
It is a stark, terrifying contrast, and it completely previews the legal bloodbath that is about to unfold in Vinton County. Here is exactly what is going to happen when this case goes to trial. It is going to be a firing squad, and everyone is going to be pointing the gun at everyone else. The grandfather is going to hide behind his wheelchair. He's going to say, "I'm just a sick old man. I couldn't stop them."
But that's what you're gonna see develop here. You're gonna see grandma and grandpa saying, "Oh, they're just feeble old people," and he's gonna have the wheelchair as his little prop throughout all of this to try to play that card.
Gary Jr. is going to say, "I was out working DoorDash. I was trying to provide. The women were in charge of the house."
When you hear the story of the conditions and a jury sees the images of those 16 children in that 12 by 12 room, obviously we will stay on top of this story as things develop. That's it for now. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.